Good afternoon. If you could take your seats, we will get started here. This is week 5 of Capital Clarity for the 2024 legislative session. My name is Brian Ullman. I'm here on behalf of Idaho Freedom Foundation, who has been helping put these on for several years now. If you read the small print when we talk about it, it says that it was initially a joint venture between then Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeehan and then Representative Dorothy Moon. And she will be back here in just a few moments to speak in her current role, as she's been fighting the idea of ranked choice voting in this blanket primary for several years. Even before the idea for the initiative came, the Republican Party banned it because they saw what was coming. I do want to mention, Idaho Freedom Foundation is a nonpartisan organization. So I did invite the chairwoman of the Democratic Party to come and share their position on ranked choice voting. And they politely declined, but they wanted me to mention that the Democratic Party does not have an official position on this. So that's my due diligence. So if you've been following what's happening in the House and the Senate this morning and this past couple of weeks, it's been pretty crazy. They came up with this new idea for their budgets, and this might seem a little esoteric, a little in the weeds, but the idea is that they're going to do something that creates a bit more transparency for legislators and for voters. And they've been working through that, and it's caused some consternation. It's caused some battles between various powerful legislators. And what it really goes to show is that it matters who we send to this building. Even though your representatives are only 1 out of 70 and your senators are 1 out of 35. It might not seem like they have a big voice, but they really do, because it takes all of them together to make things happen or to stop bad things from happening. So it really does matter who you vote for, not only in the general election, but in the primary, because in many districts throughout Idaho, whoever wins the primary wins the general. And that goes both ways, whether you're in District 1 or District 19. Now, this initiative that is being passed around, gaining signatures, is looking to change the way in which we elect people, both in the primary and in the general election. And so it's important to really understand what it's trying to do, what the long-term effects would be, and how it would affect your voice in this building. And that's why we've set aside today to talk about ranked choice voting, the blanket primary, and these changes that are being pushed in our state. So later on, we're going to hear from a nationally recognized expert in elections who worked in the past for the Texas Secretary of State, I believe. He will be joining us via Zoom. But first, I'd like to introduce the chairwoman of the Idaho Republican Party, Dorothy Moon.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, everybody, for being here, and welcome young people in the back row. I love seeing young people, because some of us, we're getting so tired. We need some young legs to take over for us. That's right, I'm Dorothy Moon, and I'm the chair of the Republican Party, and I know a lot of you, and I'm glad to see you all here. Capital Clarity has been going on for quite a little while, and it's a great way for you to get information out to the public so they know what's going on up here in these hallowed hallways. So anyhow, I'm glad Idaho Freedom Foundation has taken over this endeavor, because it is a lot of work. I want to bring up ranked choice voting in this initiative that's been brought forward by Luke Mayfield and the Reclaim Initiative bunch. And I have received an email here just a minute ago, and it's from one of my operatives up north. And I just received this. I love it. I think people know you're doing your work when you start getting in the heads of the opposition. When they have to comment on you every day, you're doing a good job. Or sometimes I don't know if I'm doing a good job. But anyway, I'm just going to read to you. This is hot off the email press. Here's the short version. Dear supporters of open primaries. Oh, first of all, how many of you are here with Open Primaries Initiative? He said everybody to come today. I'm just hoping maybe I can win you over to our side. Okay, I guess not. Well, I wish they would show up so we can work on them. The Idaho Freedom Foundation and Dorothy Moon are doing everything in their power to stop us from qualifying the open primaries initiative for the ballot. You're doggone right we are. Their latest tactic is bringing the vice president of a dark money organization to attack our initiative. Dark money operative. Dark money. Label lynching, here we go. So what do they call conservatives? This is a good one. They always use dark money. They use Nazis. They use Christians. They use that we're nationalists because we're patriotic and love our country. Don't fall for it. This gentleman Chad is a very good man. He's the vice president of Honest Elections. Let's see, former director, Forensic Audit Division in Texas. This guy is not a fluffo. I guess, yeah, maybe it is dark if you're checking in to see if people are cheating in elections. But, you know, this guy is a hero. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And I hope we all learn a lot from him. But anyway, the Reclaim Idaho has jumped up. They're worried. And why? So last year, the Idaho Republican Party at our winter meeting, so it was on January 7th and 8th of 2023, we had a winter meeting and we knew that ranked choice voting was coming into this state. There have been rumblings. Reclaim had already been successful with Medicaid expansion by using interesting tactics of everybody needs free health care, don't they? And now the line is everybody wants free and fair elections, don't you? Yeah, we do. But not at the cost that you're going to throw upon us. Anyway, so they had some success with the Medicaid expansion. Now we need to look at their elections. So I think what focused the eye on Idaho, supposedly one of the most conservative states in the union, was the fact that we not only passed a resolution last winter meeting in 2023 to prohibit ranked choice voting in the state of Idaho, but then in Orange County at the end of January 27th of 2023, when we were voting in a new chair, and when we voted on a resolution that the National Republican Party stated, we will make sure every conservative state passes a resolution or amends their constitution to prohibit ranked choice voting. Great idea. So then we had the state and National Republican Party say enough is enough. Now, why is that? Okay, they just saw what happened in Alaska. How many of you know who Sarah Palin is? I would hope so. She's a cute little booger. Anyway, Sarah Palin, she's tiny. Anyway, Sarah Palin ran for Congress and she lost. And she lost despite the fact once being a previous governor, running for vice president, and now running for Congress. And she lost because the Democrats got the rules changed in the state. So that's what happens when you can't win, change the rules. And that's all this is and nothing more. And so to make it out to be some kind of really nuanced, wow, this is the latest and greatest way to vote. I don't know, you guys, for almost 250 years as a union, it's been one man, one vote. Wow. Ranked choice voting to traditional voting is like the Common Core of voting. Let's throw out a lot of confusion. Let's make it like, okay, you got to rank them and we're going to move this one over here when this guy drops off, and no one's going to want to do it, especially our senior citizens. They've been using one man, one vote for a long time. So we need to keep up our traditional voting methods. So Sarah Palin, speaking about that case, we had her come out to Idaho, in Idaho Falls, to talk about what happened. In that case, there were multiple candidates running, and I mean, this went on for weeks. So when you have bunches of candidates, and then you have to keep moving their votes for the people who voted for them first now get a vote for a second candidate, and then when those fall off, and then they get a vote for their third candidate. And I mean, it was just horrendous. So that's how she lost. No one would have thought she would have. But Sarah Palin came to explain it down at the Melaleuca Event Center in Idaho Falls, which was great because then Frank Vandersloot with Melaleuca, he got up for 50 minutes and tried to explain it. And by the time he got finished, he said, well, how many of you are confused? He goes, I hope I've confused you well enough. And everybody said, yes, you did. You did confuse me well enough. So people in Idaho Falls got a pretty good taste of it. Most of you are probably have a pretty good of understanding of it. But the thing with ranked choice voting, it will destroy our state, pure and simple. Some states, we're talking California, we're talking Colorado, maybe it's just city municipalities that are using ranked choice voting. But when you look at Boise, if they were to incorporate ranked choice voting, how much of influence would it have on the overall state? A lot. What happens in Boise actually does finger out into all of our rural areas. So we don't want ranked choice voting. And so what happened last session, Idaho GOP, Republican National Committee merged together and shared with our legislators, we do not want ranked choice voting. A law was passed along party lines. Oh, actually, there were 3 Republicans who voted against it. I have called them out in most places. I won't do it now, but you can look that up yourself. But it was along party lines, more or less. And that then put us in the national spotlight. People were excited. Wow, you got that passed so fast. Well, yeah, we're Idaho. We don't mess around. So we got it done. But it also put the eyes of extreme socialist Democrats' eyes on Idaho. They're thinking, okay, if they can get that through, other states can get it through, or they can amend their constitutions. We need to go for a constitutional amendment is what we need to do now. However, in the meantime, they decided we're going to put an initiative on the ballot. And that's what they're going to do. So what's our line of defense? 1, make sure they don't get the signatures that they need. They have to have a little bit over 60,000 signatures, 663, I think. By the end of April, they have so much of a time frame. They have to have so many counties. They have to have so many signatures. Anyway, they're getting them. They're getting them. And you know why? Because they pop up all over the place. You know, they're outside of Costco and Walmart. If there's a levy or bond or some kind of voting issue in a community, guess what? They're sitting right there. And not even within the 100-foot limit. You know, they just break the rules because they're going to get the signatures no matter what. These are paid folks. I know that I've gotten a lot of reports. It's $20 an hour, and a lot of them aren't even from in-state. They're supposed to be from in-state. So there's a lot of problems with this initiative process. I think the biggest one for me is that they're using the word open primary. We do have a closed primary, and Idaho decided that after the last caucus that we had in 2012, and they closed the primary so that we could pick our quarterback. And I do want to pick our quarterback. I don't want Democrats coming in and putting in some moderate, milquetoast, non-fighter Republican when we need all the muscle we can to save our state. So anyway, the most important thing is that you know what we're up against. Every week they're putting these things out. So they're raising money off the fact that Idaho Freedom Foundation and Dorothy Moon, the chair of the Republican Party, are actively working against saving our state. Well, maybe it's part of my job because I am the Republican chair and the state central committee said they want no ranked choice voting in the state, and the Republican National Committee said the same thing. That is my job. So you bet I'm going to fight you guys. And we're going to keep it up, and it's not over. So how many of you have seen the cards that we sent out that said decline to sign? Good. Okay, those have gone on around the state. We had about 100,000 of them. Most of them have been gone and used. The rest of them have now gone into the caucus boxes so that they can have them laid out for anybody who wants a little more information to share with their neighbors. So we've got all those all used up now. And then we're going to have some more materials coming out. So for you reclaim people in here, be ready. We've got more stuff coming. And we're going to do some other things to make sure that everyone knows what's at risk. Even some of the folks who originally signed it, the former Republicans that signed it, they are now a little bit chagrined because they didn't know ranked choice voting was at the back part of the petition. They were supporting opening the primary. Why? Who knows? But why did they not read the entire thing before they put their name to it? So let's talk about the people who have unfortunately already put their name to it. Some of you in here might have accidentally already signed it a few months ago because you thought, yeah, that sounds great, the way it was sold to you. There is a way to undo that. So in Idaho statute, and I don't know the number off the top of my head. In Idaho statute, you can go to the county clerk. So let's say in Custer County, I accidentally signed it because I felt weak and the kid, was trying to, he went free and fair elections. Yeah, I'll sign it. Yeah, sounds good. And then I thought, whoa, that has ranked choice voting in it. So I can go to the Custer County clerk, and prior to them verifying the signatures, when all the signatures are turned in, you go in and say, I don't know what happened, but I really didn't want to sign this petition. And can you take my name off? And we should have a clipboard, or they will get a new sheet of paper on a clipboard and put Dorothy Moon, Stanley, Idaho, remove name off initiative. So you can undo this before they verify it. And that's in our law. So please, if you know anybody who said, you're not going to believe this, I really signed that Reclaim Idaho thing, tell them to go undo it. It's going to be a little bit of work going to the courthouse, and explaining your situation that you just, you were gaga or didn't have enough coffee that day, but just make sure you do that. I've already heard of quite a few people have taken the opportunity to remove their names. The other thing with ranked choice voting, so I'm going to try to explain this the best I can, as easily as I can. And I've done this before with university or college teams here in Idaho. I broke two fingers over here and I keep bending them. I can't. So I'm going to try to do it with my left hand. Okay. Right now I'm reading all your minds, and we're going to decide who is the favorite university or college in Idaho. And you guys have just voted on, oh, I'm getting it. Okay. BSU. Okay. And then the next is the Vandals, University of Idaho. Oh, BYU comes in third, and fourth, ISU and Pocatello. We love those Bengals. Okay, so right now I'm seeing most of you, 48%, you like BSU. You like the blue turf and you love the Palomino, and they're right here in town. And they got some great players. And then you have over here, University of Idaho, Vandals, party school. Who doesn't want to go to college and party? That's what me and my husband said. Okay, so here's the Vandals. Then we have BYU, which represents a lot of kids around the state go to that local college, and then university, and then you also have Pocatello, Idaho State University. Now all of a sudden you notice, okay, my mind has just tallied all these up while you've been watching me. I just got back from Vegas, so I'm kind of like a magic show too. And now I notice that, we have 48% here. Ooh, they didn't quite hit that 50% plus one. We got to keep going. 48%, 47%, couple percent, few percent down here. So what happens next? Beep. Okay, we take off the bottom one. The bottom one is now kicked out of the contest. So all of these people who like the Pocatello Bengals, sorry. So now Pocatello Bengals, do you think they really want BSU to get the first place? You already know they're thinking when they're ranking these, ooh, I sure don't want BSU. I'm going to throw mine over to number 2, University of Idaho, Vandals. And theirs come over here, bing, 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 bing. Their 47% just went over 50%, and they are now the winner as the favorite university in the state of Idaho. No. That isn't how it's, now isn't that confusing? Now, somebody from BYU goes, hey, wait a minute. I disagree. I want to audit that. Tell me how you would audit a ballot that has ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 3, 2, whatever. And you've ranked all of these people. How would you audit that? We can't even hardly audit the ballots we have. Now we're going to throw that into the mix. It can't happen. It will not happen. There's no mechanism to do it. So anyway, that's the second thing about this ranked choice voting. The fact that you can't audit it, the fact there's not transparency, the fact that somebody might go in and say, there is no way in heck I'm going to let that blue turf university get it. I'm going to put Vandals on all 4 and all 4 and all 4 and all 4. What do you think is going to happen to that ballot? Gone. Bye-bye. So this is the kind of thing people don't know about. You will either lose your vote. Some people will have maybe 2, 3, and depending on how many issues or people are on that ballot, 4 or 5 votes. If you're just moving 1 percentage point with every round, it could take a while. Wouldn't that be great? You could actually vote 4 times instead of just 1. So the people who voted for BSU only got 1 vote. And then they're watching these other people tally their extra votes for people who had less than they did. That's a problem. And it is hard to get your head around. So ranked choice voting is not good. Not good at all. So that's one big issue. This signage is fantastic. This is the kind of thing that will be popping up pretty soon, or maybe bigger ones. We're going to continue with the message. But then yet right now, I'm looking at my time because I'm okay. But what I'm looking at, aside from the ranked choice voting, is we do have our caucus coming up. And when we're talking about election integrity and the fact that we could lose our state in 2 years under this type of election system, you all need to be very concerned. How many of you are from California? Raise your hand. How many of you want to help us fight to keep Idaho, no California? We are needing you to help us like nothing other. In case you haven't noticed, some of the former Republicans are the 5th, 6th, 10th generation Idahoans. So why would some of these former legislators or governors, why would they support something like this when the taxpayers, you all, have supported them with salaries and votes and contributions to keep their seats, and now want to destroy your state? You guys need to think about this. This is a pretty deep issue. And it's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. This is my issue that keeps me up at night. This should be your issue that keeps you all up at night. Because a lot of you have moved from this issue in California. And you know what can happen. Or from Colorado or Alaska. And guess what? Alaska is now trying to repeal it. Okay? And I think they're going to have success with it. They know it's a mess. And it's just destroyed voting. And actually, voters actually dropped off. They don't want to mess with it. They don't understand it. It's confusing. So what better way to change elections than by bringing in some nouveau method that is really going to be a disservice and destroy your state? So anyway, that's ranked choice voting in a nutshell. The last thing I want to take 1 or 2 minutes to mention is the fact that we do have a caucus coming up. How many of you are ready on March 2nd to go to your voting place and vote for your presidential choice? I want to see some more hands. You guys better all be this is where I find out who the Republicans are not. All righty. Okay. So anyway, I saw a few. That's okay. I'll talk to you later. But the caucus is coming up. You speak of election integrity. This is paper ballots. This will be hand count. These will be tracked so well with a chain of custody, better than anything I've probably ever seen. It will be happening March 2nd. I just want to answer 2 or 3 questions I have heard on the phone. 1, are we still going to have the caucus if Trump is the last man standing? Yes. Why? Because we have to make sure you all have an opportunity to vote for the candidate who will receive the delegates. We're choosing delegates to go to the national convention to pick Trump. That's why. 2, all of these candidates have paid $50,000 each to have their name on the ballot. Right now, 3 have suspended. Ramaswamy, DeSantis, and Christie have suspended. We have Nikki Haley still in there, and we have Trump, and we have Ryan Binkley, a Texas CEO a Texas CEO, and he has a large mega church down there. And I haven't met him yet. I'd like to meet him. It looks like he's got some good ideas, but he was in Iowa at all 99 counties, so maybe he'll come. Now, out of the 3 that are left, all 6 names are still on the ballot, and you will be reminded when you get to your caucus location, however many have been suspended and how many are active campaigns. So if you go in and decide to write in Mickey Mouse or something, it's not going to do you any good. So I don't even know, you wouldn't have showed up just to do that, I would think. But anyhow, be ready to vote for that. I would love for Idaho to have, we've got 585,000 postcards going out next week. Every one of you who are registered Republicans will get a postcard that comes in and says, Dorothy Moon, Stanley Community Center, blah, blah. Okay. So you'll know exactly where you got to go. You can't go anywhere else. You got to be at the door at noon. The door is open. You walk in, you get credentialed, you vote. We are expecting to have the candidates send in some videos for you to watch. But right now, since we're down to 3 candidates, I don't know if they will. I'd love for Trump to come or Binkley or Haley. But if not, you guys do your research. You guys know who you want to vote for, research who you want to vote for. It'd be great to have at least 100,000 people show up, because that's how many who voted in Iowa's caucus, which has double our population. So anyway, would love to make sure you all get out. It's on a Saturday at noon. Please take part in it. This is a very exciting time. Nevada, if you notice today, they're having a caucus. 2 days ago, they had a primary. Why did they have both? You should be asking. Because the primary, the Republican Party in Nevada decided that they didn't trust their Secretary of State, a Democrat, and they wanted to have a caucus because they feared machines and the ballot tabulation. So guess what? They're doing their own. And I'm sure your next speaker can speak to those kind of issues. So very exciting stuff. We'll see what happens today, because whoever wins the caucus in Nevada today, which is 2 days after the primary that Haley was in, Trump is in with this one with a couple more candidates. They will get the delegates. You don't get them from the presidential primary, because it's the Republican Party, like we're doing, having a caucus. We determine that. So that puts the power in your hands, the grassroots. And I think that is very, very big. So anyway, a quick question. Is that yes. Oh, no, one spot. So some of the polling places you have traditionally used, you may not be using. Some of them are using firehouses, different schools. Some are using community centers, country clubs. Anyway, they could be anywhere, but it will say specifically where you need to go. And that's the only place you can go. That's on the card. You will receive it. Now, if you just moved here from Kootenai County, let's say you just moved here 2 weeks ago, then you're going to have a problem, because your address for your card will share your Kootenai County location, which means if you moved here, you're going to have to go up and see your grandkids or your family or whoever's up there and go vote Saturday. All right. So that's the only problem, is that 2-month window between the election. Yes.
Yeah, I have, talking about the ranked choice voting, another problem that I just found out was some of the voting machines, if you put them in safe mode, it's just a little switch you flip, you can change votes and flip it back.
Okay. And I don't know enough about that. It just sounds confusing enough to mark it with a pencil.
It's going to add more
Confusion.
problems.
Right.
This is probably the best way to go.
Yep. I agree. Yes, Sue.
So I do have one of those persons that moved, my daughter, from Meridian to Boise. So when the postcard goes, I'm assuming it'll go to her old address, will it be forwarded?
It should be yes. And I think that's for 6 months after they move. Yeah. Yes.
Is it possible to game the system of some organization, tell the supporters which choices to make, so that all the scrambling of canceling people and reshuffling everything, they'll get the desired result?
Oh, that can always happen. But not in our caucus, so that can't happen.
No.
Oh, you're talking about ranked choice voting. Well, yes, they can game it. They could sit there and have a group of people. They could advertise and have a certain group of people. Let's say like union teachers. Let's all get behind this person and make sure you rank them first, second, and third, and then fourth and fifth, put in somebody else. But anyway, yeah, you bet they can. I think this is easily gamed. You bet. Yes. Any other questions? Hi, Brittany. Okay. All right. Hey, thank you so much for your time. We've got another speaker coming, and thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dorothy Moon. And this is actually for the benefit of the people on the stream. I will be setting up the connection to Mr. Ennis here in just a moment. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hold on, let me flip which speaker you come out of. Try that now.
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we can hear you, but
mute
mute us.
turn off
the feedback.
So
Go ahead.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me. And I want to say, first of all, you guys are really blessed to have someone like Chair Moon, who in leadership who gets this issue. There are a lot of folks in Republican leadership in the right who don't get the threat this is. And I was struck by hearing her speak and realizing how much she gets it, how she's watching out for y'all. So that is very important. Because as she said, I'm gonna try to share can I share my screen for a PowerPoint? Can they see it? Okay. Host is disabled screen sharing. So I'll keep talking while they get that working. But what this is as Chairman Moon said, it is a fundamental change of election law so they can change who wins. It reminds me of when you were a child and when you were a child and you played games, and can y'all see that?
Yeah.
No, I'm working. So when you played games and you played with another kid and the kid would lose, and then all of a sudden the rules would change. Oh, you have to tag me above the waist instead of below the waist, and that way they can make it so they can win. That is what ranked choice voting is. It's the new plan to remake voting. I heard Chairman Moon go through a little bit of how it works, but I want to go through it one more time. I'll go a little quickly through it since she did. But the people who sell this don't actually usually explain why they work or how it works. How they sell it is by explaining what types of problems they allege that it solves. So you will hear ranked choice voting will make politics nicer. It will make people more moderate. It will do all these things. It will grow hair. I wish it would, but it doesn't. And it's really, really difficult, it turns out. So here, if you can see this is your regular ballot. You guys all voted for probably 40 years. Now, I'm not going to date myself and say how long I've been voting on these. But you vote for one candidate. Democrat, I want to vote for Hillary Clinton. I want to vote for Donald Trump. If you vote one time, good to go. This is a ranked choice voting ballot. This is from Alaska. This was their sample. As you can see, that one race for U.S. Senator there has a matrix of dots you have to fill in. And make sure you fill in the right dot and don't double and don't mess up your votes. So here we go. Here's how you do it. Okay, I'm a big fan of Heather Olson. She's my first choice. I hate this graphic because as a former election audit person, this person's already screwed up because they put an X in the circle and you fill it in. That's problems, but we'll ignore that. My second choice is Tiffany Strait. Third choice is Chip Hicks. And my fourth choice is Naomi Jackson. Don't want to do a write-in. So now we're going to start counting ballots. And this is where it gets tricky, right? It turns out after the first round that my first choice, Heather Olson, came in last. And no one got 50%. Therefore, my vote for her goes away. And now my vote turns into a vote for Tiffany Strait. So now we'll rerun the votes again. My vote counts for Tiffany. And again, no one got 50%, but I'm really bad at this. And she got last. So she's eliminated. Finally, we're down to two. Someone has to get 50% plus one unless there's a tie. And Chip Hicks, my third choice, that's the vote that counted. And that's, I'm not sure who won. But what's problematic about, or many problems with this, is what if I just don't like all these people? What if one of these, for example, is Joe Biden, and I can't vote for Joe Biden, or Donald Trump, and I just can't bring myself to vote for Donald Trump? Either way. And I don't fill in all four of my choices. I run a danger that after my first two choices are eliminated, and I didn't pick a second and third, that I didn't vote for anybody. Because there was no Chip Hicks vote for me. So what happens there? Your ballot doesn't count. in that final round, your ballot doesn't count and you basically are disenfranchised. And this has real world consequences. We mentioned Alaska earlier, and I hope you can see this. If you don't like the graphic, it's because it's the Washington Post graphic. It's okay if you not like it. But this shows what happened in Alaska. In Alaska, their representative race was Sarah Palin in it. 3 candidates, 1 Democrat, 2 Republicans. In the first round of voting, you see the Republicans together, Begich and Palin, got almost 60% of the vote. 60%. But neither one got to 50 plus 1. So in that case, Begich was eliminated. And we go to a second round. Well, it turns out of Begich's 53,000 voters, about 20%, 11,222, did not pick a second choice. Not Mary Patola, not Sarah Palin. Maybe they didn't want to vote for anybody. Maybe they just didn't understand the rules. Either way, they didn't vote in that second round, and therefore the votes went away. It was like they never showed up to vote at all. And that led to, even though Republicans got 60% in the first round, Mary Patola got 51.5% in the second round and took the seat. Now, you may notice, the savvy viewer may notice, wait a minute, Mary Patola did not get 50% of the voters who showed up to vote. Mary Patola got 51% of the voters who were left. So when they say it was a majority vote, not actually, it's a majority of the votes after you threw out 11,222 votes. And this has led to debacles. We've seen this in Oakland. There was a school board race. They used ranked choice voting. And it turned out they declared the wrong winner because it's so hard to tabulate these votes. Several voters in that case didn't quite understand the ballot. I think it was a couple hundred, 400, and didn't put a first choice in for their ballot. Now you can handle it one of 2 ways, right? You can say, well, you put in no first place choice, we're going to throw out your ballot. Or we can say, you didn't put in a first place choice, we'll move to your second place. Well, the rule said move to the second choice. The machines were programmed to draw out the ballots. So 400 ballots got thrown out right away. No one noticed until several weeks after the election, an independent professor and group were looking at these things just to look at ranked choice voting. They noticed, had to file a lawsuit, of course, because it's America. Took 4 months to resolve the lawsuit and get the right person in place. What I love about it, I love about our legal system, me being a lawyer, I can say this. After 3 months of the litigation, the gentleman lost, said, oh yeah, I see, I lost, and he gave up. And but it still took another month for the court to rule that the right person should be in the seat. So delay after delay. Another example of why it's so confusing and complex. New York City used ranked choice voting for their city elections. They had spent $15 million to educate voters not on who to vote for, but how to cast your ballot. Think about that. Maine has a 19-page manual, 19 pages on how to vote. Not who to vote for, not the issues we should be considering, but how to literally go in the voting booth and fill out your ballot. I said that in a debate against some of the proponents of ranked choice ballot, and their answer to the 19-page manual was, well, it had a lot of pictures. So, and this slide, you probably can't see it because the text is small, even where I'm sitting. But this shows all the places that have repealed ranked choice voting over the years. Ranked choice voting is, think about Eugene Levy and National Lampoon Vacation, talking about the cars. You may hate it now, but when you drive it. And that's what we see with ranked choice voting. When you drive it, you hate it. And you see this, you can see the dates on this. Some of this goes back to the 1920s, where people have tried it and rejected it. This is not a new thing. This is a recycled thing that people have hated for a century. It's caused schizophrenia for some of our friends. Arlington, Virginia, which I look to my side, I'm very close to Arlington right now. Arlington, Virginia, used it once and decided they weren't going to use it again. But what's interesting about the Arlington race was it was a city council race. And the main issue in the city council was zoning issues, like single family zoning, something like that. They had two candidates on one side of the issue, two candidates on the other. After they did ranked choice voting, they got one candidate, the winner on one side and the winner on the other, so it split the issue. And the Washington Post actually said this was a good thing, because if one side wasn't won, which would have happened in a normal system, that would have given more weight to the view of a narrow majority. A narrow majority. Like, I hate to have the majority pick what the rules are for zoning in Arlington, but a lesser proportional result. And now Arlington, they said they were going to go and quit using it, but now they've come back around and said, well, we are going to use it again, but only in primaries because we think it's too complicated for general elections. I mean, that should tell you something. We can use it here, but we can't use it there. Here you see a list of places that have been put on the ballot in front of the voters. And what this really shows is, unfortunately, you see a lot of green check marks, which means it passes. But you can see when it passes, it ekes by. The biggest margin here is a 53.88. It does not roll up very huge margins. It's just not that popular. I need to say, these last few slides on this is from, I don't work for Harvard, so I have to, attribute my sources. This is from Ballot Media, which is a great source for all things. So, take a look at that again. This one's from Ballot Media as well. This shows this map, and I just want to show you just the geographic punch and where they're putting all the time. This is places where it's passed locally for local elections, including my hometown of Austin, Texas, where they passed it using local elections only. And you can see it's really scattered throughout, mostly in blue states, but they've also spread it out anytime they came to a red state. This slide shows you, this isn't old, like I said earlier. They've been pushing ranked choice voting since the 1960s. These are a list of the ballot measures, or voting measures by year from 1965 to 1923, but I think, or 2023. What you can see though, at the end, in 2020, we begin to see a very big uptick in them pushing this everywhere, and its rate is increasing. And we are seeing it everywhere. It's coming to elections near you. I'm the vice president of the Honest Elections Project. My colleague, Jackie Doyer, is in Wisconsin today, testifying against ranked choice voting in their state. We testified in Ohio, Texas, Missouri has a hearing on Monday. Of course, Arizona, Nevada. These are all places where we are trying to fight this back and prevent this. Georgia. So, Idaho, good thing you're not alone, but for the rest of us, it's bad thing that you're not alone because we're fighting this fight throughout the country. You see all these pop-up groups. These are all from the same ultimate source. All these pop-up groups. Democracy Found is a Wisconsin group. Rank My Florida. Missouri agrees. Missouri has gone kind of crazy on this. They fought it back a few times. And so the left has even shifted to trying other types of methods like approval voting, which don't get me started on that one. That's where you vote for every candidate you approve of. So multiple times. And then there's Idaho for open primaries, which sounds so nice at the bottom for you guys. And really, where's the money come from? Open Society, the Arnold Foundation, some Texas billionaire, the Tides Foundation, which I can't remember. I believe the Tides Foundation or Open Society, one of those two is Catherine Murdoch backed. And then Catherine Gell is a huge donor. We just saw her testifying in Wisconsin about ranked choice voting. Has put a ton of money in to it. All this money is going to Fair Vote, all these lovely sounding innocuous groups like Fair Vote, Unite America, and Action Now. We've seen them spend $3 million in Massachusetts, $2.4 million in Nevada, and Missouri, they spent 6.8 and failed to even get it on the ballot. And they've now pledged $25 million this cycle to get it on. So there is a lot of money on this, and I will tell you that all of the money is coming. And all is a strong word. The massive majority of it is coming from the left and these foundations and wealthy donors. Now, one thing they'll do is they'll change the wording. The Federalist had a piece on this, but it turns out that ranked choice voting doesn't poll very well. The name ranked choice voting isn't good, so they really shifted their narrative to final five primaries. So those are the open. I saw a lot of California hands earlier. Those are the jungle primaries where you whittle it down to 5, and then you use ranked choice voting in the end. Now, so they forget about the end of the ranked choice voting, and they'll say, well, we're just going to have final five. And they think that poll test is a lot better. So that's where we're seeing the messaging go for them. In Arizona, they have a ballot measure with requiring open primaries, jungle style primaries. It won't require ranked choice voting, but leaves it open to the Secretary of State to decide whether to use it or not. Secretary of State has to be a Democrat. And that's this here. So to sum it up, and hopefully we get some question, I mean, winners can be losers, or can become losers. Voting is harder and more complicated. And I think may discourage turnout. I need to edit this. We've seen it discourage turnout. People don't like this, they get fed up. We haven't talked about some of the election administration pieces of this, but the studies have shown that for every candidate you have to rank in a ranked choice voting, that's 12 seconds. So if you're talking a final five ballot, you're about a minute per candidate. Well, that doesn't sound, or per race, that doesn't sound like a lot until you think about how many races we vote on in this country. So all of a sudden, you go from spending 5 minutes in a ballot, or in a ballot booth, to 15 minutes in a ballot booth. One, that discourages you because you have to rank all these people. But two, think about the line. Now all of a sudden, you've got people spending double, triple time in the booths. We're going to have much longer lines, or buy much more equipment in order to handle this. And it's harder to tabulate recount. Chair Moon touched on this. Recounting, no thought has gone into this by the left. But if you talk about doing ranked choice voting statewide and start doing hand counts, your county can't just blow through the ballots and count them all, right, and be done. They have to count. They have to wait for the other counties in Idaho to finish. They have to add all those up. Then it's going to have to be communicated to everyone who to remove. Then you're going to have to sort the ballots and kind of move them around to get rid of those eliminated votes. And do it again 5 times. It becomes a nightmare. Recount laws aren't built for this. If you think about a recount law, most of the time it says the difference between the winner and a second is such and such, you can request a recount. Well, that may not be where the most important race is, or most important count is in a ranked choice voting ballot. And round 1, the bottom is what's important, right? Because that someone is going to be eliminated and their votes are going to be redistributed. That is the important recount. So all of a sudden, you have recount laws built to count at the top, but you have the important race that probably needs to be recounted distributed at the bottom. Of course, I've probably confused you all because it's very confusing and it's so difficult to implement across a state. So with that, I will open it up to questions, if we can do that, and do the best I can to give you all the information you'll need to go out and fight this fight.
All right, so to make questions happen, I have to mute one end and turn on the other. So I will gather a question and then bring it back to you. Thanks for the presentation. What do we have?
Those can't be recounted, you can't audit them. How is it actually constitutional?
The question is, if you can't recount the votes, you can't audit them, how does this fall, how is this even constitutional? Hold on.
Yeah, there are a lot of constitutional problems problems with ranked choice voting. In Texas, we have in our constitution, we have a one person, one vote. And thankfully, back when Greg Abbott was Attorney General instead of governor, he wrote an AG opinion that says ranked choice voting violates that simple aspect. One person, one vote. You can't vote for 5 people in an election. But it raises all kinds of concerns. And the auditability of it is something the left will wave their hand at and say, you're crazy. But it's a very big problem. And actually the Virginia, not a partisan group, the Virginia Election Commission, which is their kind of who runs their elections, they studied this to use statewide in Virginia, and they said, we can't do it because you think about it, and Idaho has the problem too, different counties have different voting machines. You know, whatever you think about voting machines, we have them, right? And they're gonna count the votes. But there's no way to make the machines of different companies talk to each other where they know how to run the eliminations. So what you have to do is each county has to count, send it up to the state, and then everyone has to get tallied up and send it back down to the counties to do round 2. It takes weeks. Alaska took over 2 weeks to get their results in. And New York took slightly, I think, 20 hours less to get their results in. It's a nightmare. I think it's constitutionally equal protection. I think you raise a great point. A very long-winded yes.
All right. Yes.
Can write-in candidates on this ballot?
The question is about write-in candidates. In just a moment to switch the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably you can do write-in candidates. That's probably it's probably a little more difficult because everything gets more difficult with this. I think that could probably be overcome, but it won't be easy. And many of the machines, so they talk about final 5, for example. But I only think one company's machines, who I don't think are available in your state, can even do 5 races. They have to be able to do, they can only do 3. I think ES&S can do 3. So write-ins, I think, would throw a monkey wrench in this whole system and make it even more complex, even more opaque, even more frustrating to people who care about election integrity.
Any more questions? Yes.
This is the insurrection. This is the end of our democratic freedom in elections. How do we stop it before it gets born?
The question is, this is the end of our democratic freedom in our elections. How do we stop it before it goes further?
You know, I didn't show these slides, but I will tell you that there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope on this one, because go back to the National Lampoon's Vacation. People don't like this when they learn about it. And voters don't like it. They'll usually agree with it to do it, only because they don't know what it is. So once you begin to educate people on it, people don't like it. And this is bipartisan. You know, the far left doesn't like this either. In fact, the Democratic Party in New York City, or not New York City, sorry, Washington, D.C., sued to prevent its use in municipal elections there, saying it was racist and it was disenfranchising. I don't know if it's racist, but it's certainly disenfranchising. And Hazel Dukes, former president of the NAACP, actually said the same thing. This is bad for minority voters, bad for minority groups. I mean, the people that it's good for is college-educated, woke liberals. They like this a lot. They like it a lot. So I think what we can do is continue to educate people. Forums like this, you know, if this gets on the ballot in Idaho, which I think it probably has a good shot, we have to tell people what it is. It's not Joe Bob's tonic that will cure every ill of the voting system. It is actually bad and bad for you. And don't vote for it. Here's what it is. It works. We're on the right side of this message. And it goes across all, now what they'll do is, and this is the problem, they go out and sell, usually they'll go out and sell every kind of, if you're a libertarian, they're gonna sell this to you as, this is the way you can finally win an election as a libertarian. They're making that same argument though to the Communist Party and the Socialist Party. Everyone that has a little party, they're making this case for. But I think they need to be exposed for that, right? Because they're telling everyone who will listen that you will help, this will help you. Well, it can't help everyone. Nothing does it, right? As far as elections, we only have one seat to put somebody's petition. So, just keep fighting the fight. Educate. I think we'll win. I hope that's not too sunshiny, but I am optimistic on this issue.
Brian,
All right.
can I add something real fast?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One thing I'd like to say is education, as you just said, is a big deal. After the caucus, we are going to devote all of our manpower to getting the word out. People have short memories, maybe people, right now, maybe initiative, but we will come out and speak to any group that wants us to come and speak. Hopefully you can get 40 or 50 people or use your church or whatever. We will come out and inform, and we'll have all new materials to be handing out after the caucus. Okay?
All right, we're just about done here. Sorry about that. Just.
One last question.
Okay, one last question.
Estimate, Mr. Ennis, is RCD work best with either open or a closed primary?
That is an interesting question about how does RCV work with the open primary, with the closed primary, because the initiative here at Idaho is not just ranked choice voting, it's a blanket primary followed by a general election that's RCV.
So it doesn't work well anywhere. It has all the problems. I think where they want it to be, what their ultimate goal is to have a jungle, what they do in California, the jungle style primary, where basically you don't have parties. You end up kind of killing the parties, which sometimes sounds like we want to, but it ends up where it's not that it is to take the control from the parties and put it into these wealthy people who the parties don't always serve what they want to do. So it's not like money's going to get out of politics or people are going to start pushing for the issues they want. It's the parties are going to disappear and you're going to empower those billionaires, the Catherine Gales, the Murdochs, the Arnolds, the Soroses, the Hansford Wieses of the world to really control, because the party system will be, very, very weakened, if not dead.
We have access to this data.
All right, the one last question is your slide presentation. Is that something you can share with us?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll get that out to you guys.
All right, I will, if you get it to me or to IFF, we can make sure to share with folks. So thank you so much, Chad, for taking the time to be here and share this. We'll keep fighting here.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, well, thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening as we discuss this important issue. And like Dorothy Moon said, there's all sorts of things happening right now. The legislative session, preparations for the Republican caucus. I've heard that the Democrats are doing some sort of convention or caucus too, if you're interested in that side of the aisle. However, once all that's done, this ranked choice voting thing, it is going to come to the fore because it really is a complete overhaul of the way we select our representatives, the people who come and make laws on our behalf, governors, attorneys general, everyone who has influence in our society, comes from this electoral process, and they're completely, they want to completely change it. And so we need to have this debate and have, education about what it really is, because, like they both said, it's not open primaries. It's a blanket primary. That's a different thing. And it's ranked choice voting, which, the signature gatherers, they're not even saying that. They're not even telling people about that. So I look forward to seeing more education, more debate, more discussion, and I know everybody in this room is going to help with that as well. So thank you so much to Chad Hennis for taking the time to share with us. Thank you so much to Dorothy Moon for coming out here. And thank you all for attending, all of you who are here in person, all of you who are watching, and all of you who will be watching in the future. Remember, you can go to capitalclarity.com. We're pretty much set on our lineup for the rest of the year, so I'll start getting that uploaded so you can see who will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. This will continue as long as the legislature's in session. So we will see you next week.